and welcome to Special Report on Arcn TV. I am Fatima Suleiman. The Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, in collaboration with the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, organized a one-day stakeholders forum with theme Research Capabilities in Nigeria. The journey so far. The event aims to highlight progress in Nigeria's agricultural research sector. In his opening remark, the Executive Secretary, Dr. Adamu Abubakar Daba, noted that the Agricultural Research Capabilities Forum is a strategic platform to reflect, celebrate, and most importantly, envision the future of agricultural research in Nigeria. Let's hear him.
It is a great honor, and I welcome you all to this National Stakeholders Forum on Agricultural Research Capabilities, gently convened by the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria and our esteemed partners, International Institute for Tropical Agriculture, IITA. I also recognize the contribution of the Committees of Directors of Research Institutes, CODRI, and National Committee of Aids of College of Agriculture and Related Disciplines, NASCAD, through successful hosting of these events. This forum is a strategic platform to reflect, celebrate, and most importantly, envision the future of agricultural research in Nigeria. The theme of this forum, with research capabilities in Nigeria, the journey so far is both timely and instructive. It invites us to pause and take stock of where we began, the progress we have made, the challenges we have encountered, and the opportunities that lie ahead. In view of the strategic importance of this forum to agricultural research for development in Nigeria, I am proposing that this forum be convened on an annual basis. Over the year, the Nigerian National Agricultural Research System has built several capabilities, which we are celebrating today. Those capabilities include human resources, technological innovation, infrastructure, collaborative, and knowledge dissemination capabilities, among others. Those milestones were not achieved in isolation, but through strong partnership among governments, national and international research institutions, the private sector, development partners, and farming communities who remain at the center of our efforts. I took this opportunity to acknowledge the invaluable contribution of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security and our partners, especially the CGR family, the ECOWAS, the AATF, the FARA, the CORA, universities, and the private sectors, whose investments and commitments have strengthened Nigerian research capability. We thank you all for enduring support and collaboration. I also wish to recognize the sectoral leaders who laid the foundation of agricultural research in Nigeria, and partners who celebrate the vision of the founding fathers of Arcn. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, while the Nigerian scenarios have produced results that continue to benefit stakeholders, there remains room for growth, sustaining and enhancing those capabilities, while developing new ones is essential for delivering even greater impacts. As we take stock today, learning from the past challenges and envision the future, I am confident that the measures we adapt will generate the values, strengthen our capability, and align with the best practice in agricultural research management. In this new phase of Arcn, we are committed to build on this legacy of our predecessor by pursuing initiatives that align with the strategic goals of Arcn and the Federal Ministry of Agriculture and Food Security. Specifically, we will ensure the timely completion of ongoing projects and commissioning of the new ones. To this end, we have already commenced engagement with stakeholders to advance the following priorities. 1. Development of the second generation strategic and operational plans for Arcn, revisiting development of condition of service scheme, condition and scheme of service for the Arcn and NARIS and FSCAS. Revising the report of the Ministerial Committee on Implementation of the Arcn Amended Act of 2021 to ensure the full implementation. Immediate review and update of the guidelines for management of NARIS and FCAS to 2009. Distinguished stakeholders, this forum is both reflective and catalyst toward its sessions and discussion. We speak to generate insight that will shape a further-looking agenda for agricultural research in Nigeria, one that is responsive, inclusive, and transformative. Given that capability management is a shared responsibility, it is vital that the decisions and actions from this forum cadette effectively across the entire agricultural research value chain. As we reflect on the journey so far, we must also look ahead with renewed determination in Nigeria's agricultural stance at the crossroads, challenged by climate change, population growth, yet energized by a promise of science, innovations, and technology. To drive food security and transform livelihood. To seize this moment, we must strengthen research governance, invest in human and institutional capacity, and foster collaboration that extend national, regionally, and globally. On this note, I thank IITA, CODRI, and NASCA for partnering with us to make this forum possible. How wish us productive celebration. Distinguished stakeholders, we have come a long way, but the road ahead calls for even greater vision and collaboration. Let us rise to that challenge. It is my honor to declare the medium edition of this National Agricultural Research Forum open. I thank you and wish us all a fruitful and impactful forum. Thank you.
Stakeholders at the event, as well as executive directors, provosts, directors of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, affirmed the forum will serve as a platform to address issues affecting them as well as proffering solutions. They called members of the unions, the NARIS, and the FCAs to put a strong voice behind this initiative for better goals to be achieved.
The Executive Secretary has hit the nail on the head. In his speech, he said this gathering should be coming every year, once in a year. So I think there's no any goodwill message other than that. The second thing I also want to say as a goodwill message, I've always been looking at our guideline, which is, I think was reviewed last in 2009, and the Executive Secretary says it's going to be reviewed. So I don't know the good message I can say other than this. Because we need a good working relationship, we need a good working environment, and which the ES is bringing it on board. So on behalf of that, and the entire CODRI and NARIS, I want to wish us well in this gathering, and I want to wish the new Executive Secretary the best of the time. All our support, our loyal support, total commitment is to the Research Institute in this grade 3 and the Federal Colleges of Agric, wherever they are, so that we can produce the medium, low-level manpower, as well as to research and make this country sufficient in food production. Without research, there's no food. And without food, there's no security.
My goodwill message to the council is to say that, we can't continue the way we have been doing things. I'm happy things are going to be changed. One major thing is to be more focused on the research institutes. We have huge mandates, but the funding is not really there for us to execute them. So please, sir, we will hope that you will look towards that to ensure that the research institutes are established and we all have our mandates should be more empowered to do the needful. There are so many categories of staff that are under us. I remember the last group of people that came, the agricultural superintendents, they said they have written to the council to look at their nomenclature. I know some of the institutes have changed that to agricultural technologists and not agricultural superintendents. So I will wish that those things are being looked at, even as we are considering the condition of service.
The executive secretary, when he came into office, the first issue he tried to address is the issue of funding for the Federal Colleges of Agriculture. And he paid a courtesy call to TETFund, and he's trying to see that the colleges are well funded. So one issue I want the Federal Colleges of Agriculture, the provost, to look into is that if ASU can speak on behalf of universities, we have unions, the Association of Agricultural Technologists, the other unions under the NARIS, they should also add voice to support Arcn to ensure that the colleges are enlisted under TETFund, so as for them to also benefit with the funding of Arcn. If you look at the obsolete infrastructures we have in our colleges, the obsolete issue of curriculum, we need funding to review our curriculum to address the fourth agenda under the Renew Hope agenda of Mr. President, which is seeking for modernizing agriculture through mechanization, research, and digital transformation. This is what we should focus on, and really we need funding.
What I have to say is, I think forums like this, even before I joined the council formally, when I came here, one of the things I discussed with, I think, Dr. Madugu and legal is that I want a situation where we have this kind of forums where we can relate more with the FCAs and the NAIRIs. It fosters more better working relationships. And also for the condition of service and scheme of service, I want to also reiterate that it was one of the things that the executive secretary worked on when he got here, because we found out that there were a lot of administrative, I would like to call it disjoint now, where some were getting letters, complaints from various colleges and institutes complaining about non-implementation of some directives and all that. So we have written a letter to the Office of the Head of Civil Service of the Federation, and we're working with them, and I'm sure before the end of the year, we'll come up with an approved scheme of service and condition of services.
Dr. Shuaibu Ali Madugu, Director Research Planning and Statistics, gave an insightful presentation on the history, evolution, and current state of Arcn, NARIS, and the FCAs in Nigeria, providing valuable context and overview.
In the 1970s, the federal government had long recognized that there is a need for a central body to coordinate all the research institutions. And so, as at that time, they established the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria in the 70s. But that same council was also abolished together with other sectoral bodies to form the the Nigerian Science and Technology Development Agency. So this move, including our agricultural research institutions, to the Federal Ministry of Science and Technology. Then in the 80s, the government also again realized to realign the agricultural research institutions back to its own mother ministry. And so that was what brought about the Research Institute Establishment Order, which was enacted and then upgraded. And then that brought back all the research institutions we have with the department in the Science and Tech, Agri Sciences Department, back to the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. So as at that time, that department was the one coordinating the research institutions, but domiciled in the ministry. Now, in in 1999, the federal military government now released a decree. That decree establishes the Arcn, but the decree came on the 26th of May. And if we can all remember, it was on the 29th of May that the civilian government took over. So there was no takeoff between the 3 days until the civilian government took over. Though the president that came was trying to review most of the decrees that were established by the by the military government to see which should be valid and remain. The Arcn decree remained dormant, not abolished, but remained dormant, later adopted by the National Assembly. But the takeoff of the council was delayed because at that time, the government came up with the interest more on presidential initiatives. And so those presidential initiatives, like we had presidential initiative on cassava and so many other things, and then the National Food Security Program, all of those are the priority of the government at that time until towards the end of 2025. The government then re-established a committee. In December 2025, a presidential retreat was held at Kaduna, and that retreat was held at Kaduna, and that retreat actually came up with a recommendation to establish, identifying link leakage between research and production as one of the major problems in agriculture in Nigeria, that there's a very weak linkage between research and production. So based on that, a committee was enacted, and that committee was called PAC, that's Presidential Advisory Committee, with the mandate of looking through to see and submit a report how government will address the issue of weak linkage between research and production. Now, as at that time, the committee submitted their report at the end of July on 2026 again. Now, July 2026, when they submitted their report, they gave out their recommendations. The recommendations were now want to be implemented, and so a PIC, that is Presidential Implementation Committee, was enacted to implement the activities and recommendation of the PAC. Now, during the implementation of this, they were to be submitting quarterly report to the president, and this committee constituted all the deputy governors chaired by the then Minister of Agriculture. So at the end of the day, the Presidential Implementation Committee, when they were submitting their first quarter report and their first report, they recommended the immediate takeoff of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria. And that now led to the appointment of the first executive secretary of the council in November 2006. And that is what brought us to having this council coming back on board to exist as an independent council. And the council subsumed the Agric Sciences Department in the ministry, and that was abolished, and virtually the staff of the council, of the department, were given options either to remain in the ministry or to join the council as pioneer staff. For those who remain, were reposted to other departments. For those who came back here, actually remained the pioneer staff of the council. Though little are remaining still within the system, my two directors are here and myself, still coming from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture. The same council, after operations with the former executive secretary, the pioneer executive secretary, we had observed a lot of gaps in the act that established that committee. It was a decree, but now an act. So that was when it was proposed for an amendment. But before the amendment, if you look at it there, that is before and after the amendment of the act. Before the amendment, it was a coordinating council. Before the amendment, we had 15 research institutions under our purview. Before the amendment, there are 11 colleges under Arcn, and as well as there are limited opportunities for commercialization. However, but after the amendment, we have, now it has become a managing council, and we have an expanded institutions with about 16 research institutes and 18 federal colleges of agriculture. Also now with the spin-off companies, if taken serious and operated just with the guideline as it should be, we have so many opportunities for commercializing our own technology. Now the current and the past chief executive of Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, as I mentioned in 2016, Professor B.Y. Abubakar, Baba Yusuf Abubakar, was appointed by then President Obasanjo, and he had the opportunity to serve the ARSN for 10 years. He had the first time, and his term was renewed, so he served. Immediately after he left, Professor Ambrose Alikidumvu was given an acting opportunity, and then he acted as the executive secretary of the council for a very short period. And when he left, we had one Mr. Saidu Madawa. What gave Mr. Saidu Madawa opportunity to act as the council ES was because he was then the most senior director, and they had to use the civil service rules that said the most senior person in the absence of whosoever takes over. He was the director of admin here, but he had the opportunity to act in the council for almost 2 years. After he had left, or while he was still here, was when we had the great opportunity to receive Professor Garba Hamidu Sharubutu, who came and had his full 6 years. Though he also came and started as acting, had almost a year in the acting capacity before he was confirmed, and he had 5 solid years. Then we had Professor Bello Abubakar Zaki, who is the shortest acting executive secretary. He had acted for 2 months before the appointment of Dr. Adamu Abubakar Daba, the current executive secretary.
On his part, Professor Michael Aberton from the National Institute for Tropical Institutes of Agriculture, IITA, made a review on consultative group on international agricultural research, successes in research, and showcased different initiatives and partnerships. Let's listen to him.
West Africa is one of 5 hubs that you can see there, and in science terms we have 3 science areas which you can also see there. We have a strong focus, and this particularly in West Africa as well, on development of value chains. So the varieties, agronomy, plant health, all the rest of it, the disciplinary strength, yes. So we have, for example, and I'm sure you're familiar with many of these things, high quality cassava flour. Let's go through these quickly. Yeah, feeding of cassava peels to poultry. So again, this is sort of circular bioeconomy. One of the big outputs of the last few years is aflatoxin control. We have the development of something called AflaSafe, which was incubated in our business incubation platform, and is now being commercialized in several countries. So we're really moving forward to this model of research into commercialization to the private sector. Seed systems, obviously very key. If we want the varieties to reach the farmers, we have to have, first of all, very strong varieties which are well adapted in terms of climate change and nutritious, but we also have to have the seed systems to support them. So we have maize, we have soybean, much progress in the last few years, plantain, yams. So we have yield, we have disease resistance, we have quality, we have some of these traits, but increasingly we're also focused on different product profiles, on different value chains, in terms of how these crops can be used. We have, of course, I think we heard earlier about digital tools. So we have a lot of work focusing on digital tools, including the application of digital tools and AI in terms of tracking where seed is being produced. This can be applied to different crops. So we have a seed tracker. We're looking at deployment. Again, it's also supporting small scale seed entrepreneurs, very important component of what we're doing. We have, of course, I'm sure many of you will have heard about TAP, which is Technologies for African Agricultural Transformation, funded by the African Development Bank, which has been a major project across many commodities and across many countries in Africa. Again, bringing together with a key role for governments, bringing together the African Development Fund funding to the private sector on government needs, and with IITA really as a sort of backup or a technology or a technical partner for these things. We have something called together all these what you call validated technologies, which are then ready for use by the farmers. So you can see that. So this is very important and is something that I think could be even more worked on in a collaborative way with the institutions represented here today to make sure that we're capturing everything that is of value to farmers in Nigeria. We have a big focus on nutrition, of course, and on improving yields, for example. Nodumat is another one of these things which has come through the business incubation platform. Is an inoculant for soybean to assist with nitrogen fixation to get higher yields. And you can see the difference there in those photos. So of course, always when we have these things, we're looking at the applications of these technologies, we're looking at the capacity development that goes alongside them, we're looking at what products we can come out with. Yeah, cocoa, we had to have something on cocoa. I heard Patrick complaining in the coffee break. Not enough cocoa in the first session. So we have cocoa, we have work on cocoa in terms of cocoa soils. We have work now going on in different parts, including Côte d'Ivoire, for example, on agronomy of cocoa, management of cocoa, as a very important cash crop for the region. So the digital tools also apply in terms of soil mapping and soil fertility. So we can think of these types of applications which are very important if we're going to get more precise information and more precise guidance to farmers and to develop decision support tools for farmers. So again, we have these ones which have been developed first of all in cassava and now expanding to other crops. Arcn is a well-known example. It's been very much taken up by farmers and by the private sector in terms of soil mapping, in terms of guidance really for fertilizer application and helping with the whole input chain in terms of fertilizer use.
The high point of the event was the official welcome and presentation of gifts to the Executive Secretary of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Dr. Adamu Abubakar Daba, by the International Institute for Tropical Agriculture and Committee of Directors of Research Institutes. A wrap on our special report on Arcn TV with a closing remarks from the Executive Secretary of the Agricultural Research Council of Nigeria, Dr. Adamu Abubakar Daban. I am Fatima Suleiman saying thank you for watching.